Saturday night class, science and religion. You study religion, you come to a love of God. That's his point. You study, the more religion, the more science you study, the more you're going to love God. And that has been my personal experience these last 12 years that we've had a class of science and religion. And those who've been with us, Elliot, whoever's been with us.
Science or religion?
Science.
You said science?
Science. You study science, you come to love God.
Yep.
So, and that's been my experience. The more that I know about the science of astrophysics, more about quantum mechanics, the more you read Brian Greene book or you see his PBS special, you become to love God because of the scientific aspects of what Borei Olam is all about. And he tells you the exact point. When you study the works of God, astrophysically, biologically, chemically, neurosurgery, Mordechai showed me a tremendous TED Talk. Amazing TED Talk. Brilliant about the brain. He's an astounding kid, this kid. Just showed me this thing. It cost me 10 cents and I get a free 20-minute video. Great one. So that showed me about the mind. How the mind works. Neuroscience. Fantastic what he had showed me. I'm eternally indebted to him. I will pay for his... So I'll tell you, nothing. Yeah, I ain't saying nothing today. So finally, you study Aseh Hashem, chemically, biologically, and politically. You'll see God's madah, see God's wisdom in science. She'ein la'er. Notice 1,000 years ago, the Rambam is saying that he understood, the Rambam said that in his primitive science, he understood in la'er, the lokes, no end to the wisdom of the biological creation that Hakadosh Baruch Hu created. Notice the next point of knowledge leads to love. Knowledge leads to love. Exactly correct. To know God. Knowledge. As David says, David loved God, and then when you think about all this, your knowledge, you have awe. So knowledge and love are actually interrelated and they go hand in hand. So knowledge leads to an intellectualized love of God. Now I understand, it doesn't make sense. Either you love or you know. Know the Rambam saying to you. And this actually is supported by the end. Sorry? Right. So at the end of the day, if you check Moreh Nevuchim, part 3, chapter 54, with the where the Rambam in that last chapter quotes this pasuk from Yirmiyahu chapter 9 and says, it's not about wisdom. It's not about caution. It's not about Kivura. Yirmiyahu says, Haskel Yodea Oti. Know me. Kina Hashem Oher Chesed Mishpat Haskel Yodea Oti. Know me. Intellectualize me. Kina Hashem Oher Chesed Mishpat Hashem. I love this. So there you see where the love, knowledge, you may even want to call it intellectual mysticism, as some have formulated. Intellectual, going beyond to love God, rooted in an intellectual context. I conclude with 2 final points. 30 more seconds. So therefore, number 1, we are pledged to return to Ahavah. Book of Ahavah. Thank you again. Our inspiration to Nikki for all that he's done for us. To plumb its depths for more important insights and more wow moments. We also understand how these two are integrated. Ava and Mada and Hava, they are integrated. The question again was?
Oh, is it actively thinking on?
Right. So that's the last one. Good. Okay, good. And we return to Ahavat Hashem, and we want to understand, because we're not yet finished understanding, what is Ahavat Hashem? We want to analyze it more in the terms of this book, as Rand pointed out, but also, of course, throughout the entire corpus of the Rambam's writings, throughout all the Shir Torah, and we're looking what you want to do. All the Rambam's works, especially Rambam, have to be understood in light of this particular context. Last point, your point. But Soloveitchik had finished with one point, the point we studied chapter of Pulim, whatever it was, and he made this point, which again goes back 45 years ago, wherein Rambam quotes and says, or so he says, to understand what learning is all about, to understand how one becomes creative in learning, to understand what learning is really all about, you have to have more than an intellectual relationship to the material learning. Chuma is knowledge. What does it mean? You have to relate to that learning as a beloved friend, as one that you have an emotional connection to, as a mother to a child. As Soloveitchik said in that particular context, that ordinarily if I have a tomato in the morning, tomato in the evening, I say beracha in the morning, say beracha in the evening with the tomato. Correct, obviously. However, on the other hand, if I'm going to study in the morning, I'm going to study 10 hours later, one beracha. I say beracha, I'm going to shahad to learn, study Torah, but I'm going to work, I'm going to come back 10 hours later to learn. For a second, another beracha Torah for that? I don't. Why not? Good point. Because the Rambam says, and Rabbi Labaton stands and says that there are latent awarenesses, different levels of awareness. When you say the beracha in the morning, the commitment to Torah is full. You're going to learn in the morning, you say something in the morning, have a shiur or a rah, or you say, what are you going to say? Build your obligation learning at that point. You're going to work, but really you have a latent awareness of learning. You're really, on some other level, you always are learning. And the Rav analogized to a mother and a child. And he said that a mother takes care of the baby in the morning, and then she changes and feeds the baby in the morning. Then she has to go out and go shopping. But she never, she never loses focus on the baby. She always, at one level or other, always has an emotional awareness, connection to that child. You can wake her up in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning, your baby's crying. She'll say, "Can I have a baby?" You want to say that? Does your dad say that? He might say that, I'm not sure. But you never say that. You have. And interestingly enough, of course, one of the ideas that Soloveitchik had always taught us in this issue is that that's the way he felt with the Rambam. That as a child of 10 and 12 years old, his father, Moshe Soloveitchik, would wake him up and say, "What did Rambam say about this issue?" And he would tune into it right away. 2 in the morning. He wants to know what Rambam said about this issue. He had that kind of connection, ongoing, intimate relationship to the Rambam. Soloveitchik did, obviously, or Moshe did, obviously, Soloveitchik did, obviously. That's the way you have to learn. You learn with always having that kind of primary, certainly, but not always, and so we have to work and earn a living, but have a latent awareness of learning. And when one has that kind of latent connection to learning, that's how one becomes creative in understanding what Torah is really all about. Having that intellectual, emotional, integrated appreciation of what Torah is all about. May we merit have many more occasions as individuals,